Greetings, everyone. I wanted to get on here and share a little bit about my newest painting, which is a piece that I think I'm just going to call the Kabalistic Cross. I may change that title at some point down the road, or when I sell it or post it online or something, but before I talk about what this piece means and sort of where it came from, I have to talk about this piece of wood that it's painted on, which is just an ordinary frame, probably from Hobby Lobby or Michael's or some sort of craft store or art store. But this was a piece of wood that my mother had given to me probably about 8 years ago. And before you start thinking, oh, how sweet and how nice, and to be clear, there was an illustration pasted on here onto just a blank piece of wood from a book. It wasn't a piece of art that my mother had made. But yeah, before you go thinking, oh, that's sweet or nice or something, the fact of the matter is that my mother was not good to me or kind in many ways in my adult life, and I've not been in contact with her for some time. And in certain magical circles and even in quantum physics theory, there's this idea that something, even physical items, carry the essence of what we have touched. They carry the essence of everything they've ever touched. So everything we have ever touched or have come into contact with, we are supposedly still, that holds an essence of us and we hold an essence of it. And so in many ways, this art piece, what it used to look like, which of course you're not seeing what it looked like underneath all this, held the essence of my mother and hung in my home for several years before I took it down, and it sat in a garage for a while. Then I almost just threw it away or got rid of it. But earlier in 2020, when I sort of entered into a new unexpected belief system and certain meditation practices and various other things, I just had an idea to basically change the energy of the piece and to redeem it. It's a perfectly good piece of wood, and so I thought that I would, instead bring it into good energy and light and change what it means, instead of it carrying this embodiment or symbol of someone who was not kind to me and someone who was manipulative and hurtful. So I tore off the illustration that was pasted onto this piece of wood. And the first thing I did was just paint it completely black. Had no idea what this was going to become. And then and then it sat for a while. It was just black. I worked on other things. This was months ago when I still lived in Denver. Then I started just sort of polka dotting some white stars on there, just sort of filling it out. And I had an earlier idea for a sort of space image, so perhaps a blue pentagram and some other sort of rainbow imagery, or just something sort of decorative and kitschy and just sort of fun and crafty as opposed to meaningful. But as I advanced in my meditation practices and spent more and more time with certain meditations from an esoteric background, this image that I've painted came to me, so to speak, one of those days. Not so to speak, it did. In my mind's eye, this image of a person, I mean, perhaps myself, but perhaps any given person, perhaps every person, perhaps the embodiment of all people in one soul, the sort of experience of God living out through every person, through every unique life, being suspended in space, and sort of receiving from 4 directions this very pure and cleansing and grounding energy from the universe, from the stars, from planets, from this above, which is not the sun, but is perhaps the highest ideal, perhaps the divine, perhaps the source of all creation, whatever that means to you, and saw this image, saw myself at the center of this cross, so to speak, and the energy coming in from two separate planets and from above, going down into the earth and being grounded there, and then shooting back up with great intensity and purity and light, and filling my entire being, and sort of like balancing every part of me. And so, you know, and that said, so then I had that image during a meditation, and it was very beautiful and profound to me, and just felt true, felt like something very meaningful. And so decided to start working on this. And so perhaps these planets here, you know, perhaps that's the sun and the moon, perhaps that is Mars and Jupiter, which have their own very strong significances in their own unique properties in astrology or in magical circles. And then, of course, sort of Earth, you know, our grounding, our home planet. And you may be able to see, it's rather small in this not very high-res camera, but these spheres within the body. There are 5 spheres there, and those are the spheres of a practice or a ritual that's called the middle pillar in magical circles, that I believe was conceived by the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. And these are similar to the sort of chakra system, the Hindu chakra system, and there are 7 in the traditional chakras, and the colors are different, so they're not precisely the same, but it's still just this idea of spheres of energy through the body, whether they're literal or not, whether they're symbolic, whether they are just, you know, meant to represent an idea. But these spheres in the body, the top one being white, that is the part of you that has always known who you are, that is sort of seated above your thinking mind, that has always been connected with God, if you will, that has always been connected with the universe. There is a sort of pearl gray sphere in the throat section, and that is the link between your conscious mind and your higher self, or your true self. There is a gold sphere seated right in the chest, and that is to represent your conscious mind, your thinking mind, and sort of perhaps our ego, or who we, but not the negative aspect of the ego, but sort of who we think we are, who we literally think we are. There is a lovely purple, like a beautiful purple sphere in the pelvic bowl, in sort of the groin or the sexual organ area, which represents the unconscious, that sort of intuition, emotion, and even the, you know, and all that is wrapped up in that, with sexuality, with orgasm, with connection, sexual connection, romantic connection, but in this case it's mostly a more emotional representation of just that subconscious. And then under the feet, or actually half over the feet and half in the earth, is a black sphere, and this represents the physical body. So there are these sort of 2 things represented here, the middle pillar and the Kabalistic cross. And